So I just want to point out, it's sad to see, with this infrastructure bill, going back to that, how we thought we were a lot of us thought we were so revolutionary by supporting Bernie Sanders. And I just want to show, how far we've come to that. Like, is it that we've gone far, or is it that Bernie Sanders has gone back and become this like reformist or pseudo revolutionary? Or is it both? I mean, Bernie Sanders was just praising the infrastructure bill. He was praising Nancy Pelosi, who's a corporate Democrat. Like, is this where we are? Like, we have to praise these people just because they're not Republicans? I mean, I know the bar is set that low, but it doesn't mean that these Democrats, like, they're still beyond the pale. Like, it doesn't mean that they're great just because they're not Republicans. No, they're still bad. So I just want to show how much of a joke his Twitter page is now. Starting with this tweet here, Bernie Sanders saying Congress just took a huge step toward enacting the most consequential legislation for working people since the New Deal. And this is why I put huge in quotations in the title, specifically because of this tweet here. A huge step forward, and then he's comparing it to the New Deal. What are we as working class people getting out of this infrastructure bill? A false sense of hope because progressives are promoting it. And then another thing, the New Deal didn't happen out of FDR's, the kindness of his heart. That's not why it happened. It happened because he was afraid of the working class people who were pressuring him, the working class people who were protesting during the Great Depression. Bernie goes on to say a lot of work is left, trying to imply like, oh, like you guys got to do a lot of work. And that meanwhile, like he's just going to keep doing the same shit in Congress, bootlicking these people, not really fighting for these issues, not working outside and organizing like he said he was going to do. He's not an organizer in chief like how he said he was going to be. But we are on track to meet the long neglected needs of the working class and combat the threat of climate change. How exactly are we doing that? Like, I mean, you're just saying that. I haven't yet to see a single progressive politician explain how exactly we're fighting the threat of climate change. Them just talking about it and mentioning it like a buzzword, using the Green New Deal as a buzzword, isn't exactly fighting climate change. It's symbolism. It's pandering. Let's get it done. And then people were calling Bernie Sanders out here. It said, so this is from at Airwaves. Said, not the huge step forward you claim, Senator Sanders. Very little in the legislation will materially benefit working people. Joe will sign because it benefits the wealthiest donors. I mean, this is what I've been saying on this show, and how a lot of people should be looking at all these issues. Like, whenever Joe Biden is for something, it's never going to be because that's what the people want. It's because that's what his donors want. And Bernie Sanders should know that. I mean, he's been with them for decades. He knows how his colleagues operate. He knows that they do the work for their donors and not for the working class people. And so he's just, I don't know if I would say given up, because looking at his history, Bernie Sanders has voted for a lot of imperialist policies. I just think that when he was running for president, I don't know. I don't know what his motivation was really. Maybe he thought he could do some good that way. Maybe he thought that he could get some good things passed while he's like the president. I don't exactly know. Like, I'm starting to question more whether how much of it was for selfish reasons. But I mean, some good did come out of it. Like, people became more awake. Like, it was a gateway for me to be more aware about this stuff, but it doesn't mean that we should just settle there and stay attached to Bernie Sanders. Like this is like we have to keep moving forward and evolving. And so I'm glad that people, like at Airways are evolving and calling him out for that so that other people can see and so that they can evolve. Mostly observing or at back from the block reporting, that part of the infrastructure bill that talks about the vehicle per mileage user fee. And then unfortunately, there's still people like this person here who said, "Thank you, Bernie," with a bunch of exclamation marks, and many thanks to the U.S. progressives, even Speaker Pelosi, credit where credit is due. Yeah, unfortunately, there's still some people that are indoctrinated that are thinking that this is an amazing thing. We just have to keep hammering in these people's heads how these bills are never going to be, helping the people in full because they all get approved by lobbyists. We're not going to get anything. And as long as it's going to keep helping the lobbyists, they're just going to keep getting more and more powerful as we become more and more weak. More power is being taken away from us over time. And then it happens so gradually that people don't even notice. And then we settle for crumbs and celebrate the crumbs like this individual here is celebrating for crumbs. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's still a bunch of Bernie simps here thanking him. Jesus Christ, we must end the absurdity that sees dozens of major corporations not paying a nickel in federal income taxes. Like he's not doing shit. Instead, he's promoting this infrastructure bill that's going to make them more powerful. What a joke. My God, trust me, I wrote the damn bill. Like he's trying to live off of like what he like all the memes that happen like when he was in the primaries. Like I wrote the damn bill. Like he's trying to keep living off of that. My gosh, man, we must restore the faith of American people in their government. That we see their pain and we respond to that pain. That we have the courage to take on powerful special interests. He's not doing that shit. This is a pivotal moment in American history. You must meet this moment with bold action, and he's not doing anything. Oh man, let me know what you guys think. Some BS shit libs think tank in control of his Twitter account. I mean, these are the people who are around him, right? And they influence the way that he thinks. But again, like he was since like the 90s making amends with the people he was supposed to be fighting against, the corporate Democrats, so that he can keep his position as an independent politician, as an independent congressperson, and then a senator. Like read Bernie the Bomber's Bad Week, or I can't remember exactly the title, but it goes over how he made a deal with corporate Democrats so he can be an independent, and so that if he prevents third parties from running, if he helps the Democrats by helping to prevent third parties from running, and if he votes like a Democrat and votes for these imperialist policies that Democrats want, like bombing other countries, which Bernie Sanders has voted for, he could keep his position as an independent. In a way, that's giving people false hope and be like, oh, look, see, we have some independence. So it makes me question, was he always like this and he was just running for president for selfish reasons? Or did he have some kind of change of heart where he said, no, let me try to change things. And then he got really influenced by the people around him, like his interns, his staffers, who are all these shit libs, who are so indoctrinated and who think mostly about their career. I mean, I'll conclude that at the end of the day, Bernie Sanders did mainly think about his career and just his career instead of paying the price that, people who go all the way and become, criminals to the state. Because if they see an actual threat, they'll do everything that they can to take them down. I have to conclude that at the end of the day, he was a careerist the whole time. His career is about to be over via, I agree, Revolutionary Drew, by retirement, or, his legacy at the end of the day is sad. Like in the history books, they're just gonna see him as like the guy who, gave people false hope, and then he sold out. I mean, that looks really cowardly. But instead, they'll look at us, the people who, continue to fight, continue to evolve. History will look at us brightly. And so, Chad Wilson, what's up, brother, says, the establishment won't be nice on Bernie after he's gone. They whitewashed John McCain and other corrupt officials for playing ball while they are live. So it's going to be interesting to see whether history is not going to be looking at Bernie kindly, like by us, or as our society keeps evolving and becoming more conscious, they're not going to be looking at Bernie Sanders in a good way. And also, the mainstream media, these corporations, these corporate politicians, they're not really going to be looking at Bernie so brightly either, is what Chad is saying. So at the end of the day, he's not looking good for anybody except for some of his simps who are stuck and attached to Bernie Sanders because they got this huge, feeling of happiness of being heard, back in 2016, and they're attached and they want to stay there rather than evolving. Those are the only people who Bernie Sanders is looking good for and good to. But the mainstream, the corporate politicians, they're not really looking at Bernie so kindly, and neither are people who see through Bernie and see how he's trying to bootlick these people. So it's sad to see he's not looking good for a lot of people. It's really unfortunate, but I mean, at least he was a gateway to leading you guys eventually to channels like this and to the community that you guys are all a part of. In the independent media sphere, on Discord, etc. Speaking of Discord, you can join my Discord, and the link is in the description. I have some people here who could probably share the link as well, so you guys can join. But online communities where you can share information, get to know people, leads to on the ground communities. You can organize events, or you can discuss how you can help inform others in your community, and be less dependent on these corporations. You can opt out of the system with your community.